Hello, my name is Daniel Ostrin. This is my code review for my Milestone 1, my projects in CS-499 for my computer science capstone. Begin by going over the first part of my project, which is the binary search tree that we created in one of my previous classes back in February 2020. I'll start by just going over this and how it currently is set up and works, and then we'll go to my other projects and explain how those work, and then kind of how my enhancements will play into those. So starting here with binary search tree, go over the structure a little bit. This is building the structure for how the project is displayed. Pretty standard stuff. How it calls it into the visuals and how it's separated in space and everything. Go into our binary search tree class definition. Defines a class containing the data members and methods to implement a binary search tree. So we have pretty standard documentation for most of it throughout. But this is just defining our binary search tree class. Has a constructor and a destructor. We have in order, which is telling it how to perform the search. This is defining it. This is our way of inserting a bid. In case you want to insert more bids, this is how you would input them. Have a basic while loop, if-else statements on how we're going to input it. And a second here for removing a bid. In case we want to remove bids from the data, just insert the bid ID and it'll remove that bid and all the information corresponding to that. Search for a bid, same way, it's just instead of deleting it, it'll pull up just that one specific bid. It's also run by a while loop, if-else statement. This is actually defining how the search is actually done with the in order, and it'll come up and how it's displayed. And we have our remove node section here. Explains how the binary search tree basically works and how it's set up when it comes up. It's also built in while loops and if-else statements throughout. It's all pretty standard. It documents how they kind of work. This is kind of what it does if stuff doesn't work right. Then we have our static methods used for actual testing of the binary search tree. This is what the database we use. It loads in a CSV file. We'll be turning that into a Mongo database. I'll show an example of what it looks like here in a minute. I'll pull that up. Currently, this is how it brings up the CSV file to show the actual database and make sure it works. We'll be changing this, but we'll go over it just for now. So when you actually run it, it comes up, you'll have a little menu. And it has cases, so depending on what you want to do, whichever input you want to put in, it explains right here. It has load bids, and you have to load the bids first for the entire thing to work, or it won't load the CSV file. And display the bids after they're loaded. You can use the find bid function, which is already pre-set up says you want to find a certain one, it'll plug in this number right here because it already has it set up, or else it won't work. And the remove bid function is the same way. It'll remove that one, and you can go back to display and it'll show that it's actually removed. Or you can do a search and see that it was removed too. Right now it's built in with a timer. That's just something we had done for that class. I won't be implementing that because I don't think it's really necessary for what we're using it for. But this is just a timer. It tells how long it takes to load the bids in, how long it takes to pull them up. And then you can choose exit and it'll tell you goodbye at the end. So that's basically how this is set up for now. And this plays in to our CSV file, which I will show you. I just throw it in here. But it'll be sent into a Mongo database later, so it'll pull up a little differently. We won't be loading in a CSV file. So these are the bids and how the database shows in a lot of ways. It'll obviously look a lot different than this one's in the Mongo database, but it'll be all the same information. We'll move into looking into our CRUD project. Plan on implementing this in Python as well to give it a more secure function for our reading and editing of our Mongo database. This is from a later class project where we were building a search and retrieve function for an animal shelter. So this is how we can create, read, update, and delete items in a database, which will also have a security function because we have to have access to the database and permissions to perform these type of functions in there. So we're going to tie this in to our database to give it a security function. That's one of our enhancements that we're doing. That'll also be tied in with this dashboard project, which is using the Dash program to create a dashboard layout so it has an actual visual function. Right now this is all errored out because it was used in a different class, the one with the animal shelter, and it was used in the Jupyter program, which I will not be using. I'll be using everything in Visual Studio, but it'll be very similar in how it functions. Just won't be using that development environment, as I don't have access to it anymore because it was on the virtual machine for the class. This explains how it's making the layout of the dashboard. A lot of this will change because this is specific to that project and how it wanted it played out in the CS-340 class, which we will be changing obviously because we're building it for the bids database that we're going to use. This uses a callback system, which we're going to be using for that too, but we're going to change all the functions inside. And it comes with graphics, and it has a button layout, so you can kind of sort in different ways of the data. But we're going to use a lot of the same ideas in this, but it'll be set up differently for our other database. This is all documented pretty standard as well, and we're going to keep the same general layout and structure of this. But we'll be going in, so this is basically one of the enhancements that we'll be doing, but it'll be implemented into that other database with the binary search tree instead of the Jupyter project that we had before. So I'm going to go back to the binary search tree, So instead of having this system here with the load bids, display bids, find bids, remove bids, we're going to have that all played into a dashboard, which will have pretty close to the same functions. You won't have to load the bids because it'll already be in the Mongo database. If you're able to connect to the dashboard, all the information will already be loaded. The display bids will be set up a little differently because it'll be displayed on different layouts depending on your selection of the little buttons. You can pick different layouts on how the information is actually shown. The find bid will be similar. You'll be able to search. There'll be a search field, and you can search very specific things or a group of things. Remove bids will be similar. You'll be able to remove items if you have a specific bid ID. There'll be an edit function, but it'll be built a little different as well. And then, like I said, the timing system won't be in there at all. It's just as needed. There won't be a pre-set up search function in there with specific bid IDs already built in, or for the delete functions, you'll be able to put those in straight from the dashboard. So it'll have actual real functionality instead of just test functionality like this is. A lot of this stuff will be the same on how it actually searches, because it's just a efficient way to search using a binary search tree. It's rather quick. It's rather a good function. So a lot of this will be the same. We're just changing how it's visually shown. Going back to CRUD, a lot of this will be changed for the specific database we'll be using. It won't be the animal shelter database, and a lot of the Mongo client will be changed, and the database will be using. All that will change, obviously, as I have to set that up on my computer instead of on the virtual environment, because I don't have access to that anymore. A lot of the variables are going to change. Documentation will all change, but a lot of the actual functions will remain the same. They'll just be edited slightly to accommodate the new database that will be set up for it with all the information in MongoDB. So that is my code review. Thank you. Bye.